Wonderful. Today we continue our April theme of On the Path. It is also the kickoff Sunday for our annual pledge drive, so we're going to talk a bit about money. Money is an uncomfortable topic for many of us, including me. According to New York City psychiatrist Carrie Skokowitz, people are more comfortable talking about their sexual fantasies than they are about their finances. Further, according to MarketWatch, an online news platform concerning the financial markets, 68% of Americans would rather tell you their body weight than the amount in their bank accounts. I promise to never preach a sermon about sexual fantasies, your weight, your height, or anybody's weight. Your weight, my weight, or anybody's weight. I also promise not to tell you things like God will make you rich, cure your cancer, or help you find the perfect mate if you give money to Buff. What I and others are going to do is ask you to make a sacrifice to continue the ministry of this organization. Please stick around for the circle talk after the service. You are an important part of this congregation. We need to hear what you think and feel. I also, before we begin, want to give a shout out to our Muslim brothers and sisters as they continue their celebration of the holy month of Ramadan. And now let us go to our announcements, which are at the back of your electronic bulletin. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made to those? If not, let us continue with our first hymn.
When it's late December, dark and cold,
where is the light?
When old man you was spending low,
where is the light?
When the sun runs off a bit too soon,
where is the light?
And there's nothing but a skinny moon,
where is the light?
Can you tell me where is the light? Where is the light? Where is the light? Oh, the light's inside of me. When it's dark each morning when I rise,
where is the light?
And it's dark when my eggs are frying,
where is the light?
And it's dark when off to work I go,
where is the light?
And it's dark again when I get home.
Where is the light?
Can you tell me where is the light? Where is the light? Where is the light? Oh, the light's inside of me. It's in my skin and in my bones, in my heart and in my soul. That bright of light, so bright and golden, like a summer day. When the sun goes missing in the sky, it is rising in my eyes, chasing all that winter gloom away. Bright like kerosene.
Where is the light?
I'm twinkling like a Pleiades.
Where is the light?
I'm dancing like a candle flame.
Where is the light?
And I'm flaming like a fruit flambe.
Where is the light?
Oh, can you tell me where is the light? Can you tell me where is the light? Can you tell me where is the light? Oh, the light's inside of me. Can you tell me where is the light?
Inside of me,
2, 3, 4.
Kristin like mine. I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it
Now for Hilary and our chalice lighting.
Okay. Uh-oh, baby just started crying. Can y'all hear me?
We can, Hilary.
Okay. We light our chalice this morning, grateful for the love that we experience in this beloved community. May the flame light the way for all who seek such abundance.
Amen, Hilary, and thank you. It's good to hear a baby crying. And now, our Poet's Corner, Janice Zerfas, an original poem.
Janice, I'm afraid you're muted.
Okay. Better?
Yeah, we can hear you, Janice.
Thank you. Instructions for the commons. More than the guy from Poland walking a push broom. More than a punch press and canting and punching out circles for bolts for hospital bed frames. Piling up on crates, swelling your muscles that feel the same ordinary boredom and will to endure. But crap, it's the black and white photo of my father at a punch press, working next to a guy in a black t-shirt and khakis, but a photo only from their backsides that gets me. Their attention for, to, and on the punch press. Perfect crew cuts from the rear. The man to the left has passed away, my father recalled, as the punch press demanded fluent attention to the will. Frames piled up into a quiet fury, while seamstresses never raised their arms. The hot chaos of the day copied the hot chaos of the heart. Work for the scent of a wife, a child. Work to avoid what love sometimes forgets. Make the rates, dear non-union flesh. Dear piecemeal, one at a time, press an eye hole in the exact same indentation for the bolt, for the screw. How many frames have you punched today? My mother asked and ironed while my father recounted the role of shop steward's duty and fury. I ask you, sitting at your chair or on your bed, watching Zoom, look down right now. Take a few seconds. Your office chair's plastic or metal casters you hold in your hand like a golden delicious was made by someone who made the rates or didn't. My father gave his overtime to the St. Adalbert's usher who couldn't make the rates, or the St. James Holy Spiriter, Dutch Christian reformer who failed the rates. The same measurements for sinkholes or dreams. Time measured as a claim on the body, on the mind. If only Einstein could have recalculated the rates using light years. They exchanged channel holders for a lighter dye. They bartered whiskey for trade calculations, give and take to get the contract done. And who wrote the racial slurs on the stadium chairs for the Saudis? They buried their hate in their alcohol. They supplied homegrown watermelon to make blueprints less capricious. They worried about the pulleys of the press coming down, time to the meandering minutia of clockworks, or a daydreamer distracted. American seating employing foreign fingers or ex-farm ukulele stringers, where he was shop steward for the commons. When people believed in the commons, where he fought for fairer rates, is now a tabernacle for condos. Where someone once hung a six-pack of Paps on the flagpole while the Eagle topped it off. While railroad cars switched tracks and the forge illuminated the golden eagle's hue. As the eagle watched while the punch press drilled down through a calloused hand, listened to the punch presser's screams and hallucinations, heard through the broom, corn, sorghum flanked straws. I never asked him what it was like to be a shop steward, but I listened. Negotiate rates to a slower pace before cardiac abrasion scars the heart. Keep the complaints and resentments down to a minimum snarl. My father wasn't bartering field corn for gold, but daring do, as the World War II vets were scary as hell, having just left dog-eared bone marrow fields. Each Sunday before Mass, I could have asked if he loved being a shop steward, but he would have thought I was a smartass. I saw how he remembered the displaced person from Poland with a not yet worn out broom. Cigar burning in his hand, he said, "Let's get a better one." Thank you for asking me to read.
And thank you for sharing some of your light with us, Janice. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Next, when our affirmation words come on the screen, let us read them together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law.
This
is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. And now our RE moment with Catherine and the RE kids.
Hi, this is my town,
What's the town name?
Zerfas,
And where is your town located?
in the sea.
Let's see. Okay. And you wanted to show the windmill?
Yes, but first, I need to show you my first house. Dun dun!
Cool. So it looks like your house is accessible because it's on the first floor. So somebody with a wheelchair could go use that house.
I actually made this house for someone who has a wheelchair.
Oh, great. And then how do people pay for the house?
Taxes.
So if you live on the island and pay taxes, you get a house?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. What else do you want to show us on the island?
Well, let's see. We are back outside in the open air, and there's my windmill. I'm going to be showing you around the windmill. Today, if I can get up the ladder. Here's a view, but I'm going to show you a better view.
So what does the windmill do for your island?
Well, it powers the island, the whole island.
It's the only power source?
Yes.
Cool. So what kind of energy is that?
Wind power.
Wind energy, yeah. Is it clean or is it fossil fuel?
Clean. And here's the moon. That's a beautiful sight. And there's my island.
Oh, very nice. Cool.
Have any last questions?
No? Thanks for showing us your island, Oliver.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Oliver. Oliver shows a lot of skill with that little machine. So thank you, Oliver and Catherine. Sustaining the Tree of Life read by Joan Krettek.
Yeah, Terry's going to help me with this a little bit. So, wrong one. Sorry, sharing the wrong story. This is the pledge one later. Hold on. Let me share the right one. Sorry, sharing the wrong one. Okay, this is our story. All right. No, still showing the wrong one, isn't it? Sorry, it keeps bringing up the wrong one. Okay, here we go. Sustaining the Tree of Life. Hopefully it's showing the right one now. Sustaining the Tree of Life by Liz Gardner. The tree stood in the middle.
Joanne, we're not seeing any pictures.
Oh, you're not seeing it? Darn it. I'm so sorry. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, let me go back to Zoom. Okay, we'll try this again. I apologize. All right, how about now? Do you see a tree?
We do.
Okay, so we'll start over again. Okay, it says Sustaining the Tree of Life. Do you see that?
Yes, we do.
Great. The book is called The Sustaining the Tree of Life by a fellow UU, Liz Gardner. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so large that it took 6 people holding hands to reach around it. The roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread out over the village square, offering shelter from the rain or shade from the summer sun. Its fruit, it was juicy, sweet, and plentiful. Okay. The people of the village loved the tree. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. I'm having so many problems. So sorry. Let me go back up to where I want to be. All right, here we go. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it and climbed its lowest branches. Young people knew that if you whispered your dreams to the tree, they were more likely to come true. People who proclaimed their love or friendship for one another beneath its branches found their relationships to be nourishing, and elders discovered that their sweetest memories could be counted on when they were near the great tree. The tree had been witness to so much, and when the breezes blew through the leaves, one could hear echoes of generations, laughter, conversations, dreams, prayers, and songs. Animals loved the tree too. Rabbits lived in burrows under the roots. Squirrels and monkeys lived in the branches, and bats and birds flew in to eat the abundant fruit. The tree seemed to buzz with life. One day, a traveling merchant arrived in the village. He rested in the shade and ate 2 pieces of fruit.
This fruit is incredible. I would like to have some to sell in the next villages that I visit. Who owns this tree?
No one owns this tree, replied a villager. If anything, we belong to it.
Well then, if no one owns this tree, then no one will mind if I pick the fruit, said the merchant as he began to fill his basket.
I mind, said the villager, and today I am the keeper of the tree.
What do you mean, keeper of the tree?
We each take our turn being here with the tree. We could never own it. We are here as protectors, as sustainers.
That's ridiculous. This tree doesn't need you. You could just take what you need, take what the tree will continue.
Sir, this tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, even though we receive much. We are keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where some of our most precious memories are, and where our people have dreamed. This is where we remember who we want to become.
Well, you may think this tree is very special, but it still does not need you to sit with it. That is preposterous.
Ah, replied the villager, the tree itself may not need me, but what of others who come by? Just this morning, I sat with a woman whose heart was heavy with worry. Had I not been here, she would have had to carry that weight alone. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by and they rested with me. They said they had been looking for a place like this. And then an elder came by and we watched the birds and the branches together. And now you are here. You were confused about what the tree is and how to be with it. Imagine if you had arrived and not found anyone here to talk with. You might have continued thinking that everything you do is all about you. Luckily for you, my friend, I'm here to let you know when you care for the tree of life, it becomes about so much more than just you. And the merchant sat for a while in the shade, thinking about these ideas that felt new and a little challenging. As the sun went down, he picked up his bag and headed out of town, whistling a song that he hadn't thought of in years. On his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, his heart feeling strangely light and joyful. And the people of the village, they continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another, and to share their gifts with grace and gratitude. May it be so for each of us.
May it be so. Thank you, Terry and Joanne, for sharing that story. And now, when our offering words come on the screen, let us repeat them together.
I get rid of that presentation so it doesn't play again when I go
This
back.
fellowship is the community of ourselves. Its resources are our resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, We affirm our lives within it. And thank you all for your continuing generosity. And now, our hymn.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
Amen. Lovely voice, lovely song. And now Vicki Dwyer-Thomas will share some of her thoughts on stewardship and generosity with us. Vicki.
Good morning. Today's theme is generosity, but what I'm going to talk about is more in frugality, because I know we're a really generous group, but I also think we're quite frugal. I have a lifetime of practice being frugal with both my time and my resources. I try to decide where my efforts and my funds will be the most useful and the least wasted. And I think Buff is one of the very, very best places. I not only get support for my efforts from open-minded, caring, and involved members, I get support for efforts at peace and goodwill in our community and in the world. I also am kept informed, educated about social and moral issues, and I have so many members to inspire me. There are so many examples of what Buff does. We support hunger and health in our community and the world by activities such as our soup kitchen, our children's gardens, food drives, educational programs. We support climate change through local and world programs, recycling, educational activities, our Green Sanctuary certification. We support social justice through our Race Relations Committee, our Welcoming Congregation, the Out Center, support of fair immigration policies, and many other ways. We're involved in All God's Children's Choir, getting out the vote efforts, clothing drives, food drives, and on and on. Personally, I and all members are supported by outstanding worship services. I think we have great services, educational programs, helping opportunities, as well as the personal support and inspiration from other members. Our growing children's and teens programs are especially noteworthy. We're an interesting, varied, fun, and involved group of people. Then there is the fact that Buff is so very careful with all of its resources. I personally believe that all the dollars spent and all the labor and materials donated are extremely well used. Personnel puts in so much more work than what they earn and have so much heart and dedication. Members volunteer for so much: cleaning, maintaining, repairing, planning, donating. Adding to this is the fact that Buff is so very democratic. Decisions have group input, programs have group input, and this to me is very important. All opinions and all members are valued. In conclusion, where else can you get a better value? Where else can you find such caring and dedicated people? It makes me proud to be a part of this group. Thank you.
And thank you, Vicki. Very, very well done. And we're very proud to have you be a part of our group also, part of this group. Next, we have some meditation music by Jim Doglish.
Open your wallet or whatever way you haul it, a satchel or a pickup truck. You can't treat a nickel like a 20-ton pickle. Someone has to pick up lunch. No heaven sent manna, no magic banana, no sugar daddy nana for the care and feeding of the buff. Small d democratic, not a lick theocratic, philosophizing on the stump. Communal situations with solar generation and sometimes music with a jump. Poets and writers, artists and guiders, pulling all-nighters for the care and feeding of the buff. Pushed into the caverns by the plague, maybe by the summer we can be face to face. It takes time and money and a fair bit of cunning. Looked at the floor and saw a scuff. Bring your will and your talent, a chainsaw or a mallet, when the place is looking rough. Serving as Sherpas for a higher purpose, let nothing usurp us in the care and feeding of the buff. Let's go swimming in the buff. No pool makes it kinda tough. I'm quite sure you've heard enough.
Amen. Another original piece by Jim Doglish. A very lovely graphics on that one, as well as being very entertaining. Thank you, Jim, for that. And now, Joan Krettek will talk to us a little more about our pledge drive.
Okay, that should be
Joanne, rather.
Yes. I'm gonna share my slides again. Hopefully I do it right this time. And wow, I don't know how I could top any of that. That is just amazing. Vicki and Jim, I think, said it all, but I will try to say just a little bit more. I don't know what more I could say that's going to be any better with what they've already said. But here's my message. This is our pledge drive kickoff. Spring is finally here. Yay. It's time to grow our gardens and also our fellowship. We decided our campaign this year is going to be built around the theme of a tree. So you're going to see lots of tree imagery. Buff is like a neighborhood tree that provides shade, shelter, and fruit to the community. We buffers nourish the tree. We feed the buff. We are like the roots that bring in water and nutrients and the leaves that produce energy so the tree can grow. Our endowment fund is the taproot that provides long-term stability and water in times of drought. So what is the fruit of our tree? Well, I listed a lot of things here, but I think Vicki already listed most of them, so I won't spend too much time. But we definitely, some of the fruit is meals for hungry children at the soup kitchen, principled religious education for our children and youth, organic gardening, a voice for liberal causes. As Vicki mentioned, emotional support for one another in hard times, meals and assistance when we need it. Good conversations at Sunday services and pastoral support when we are ill or in crisis. Fun gatherings throughout the year like bonfires and socially distanced gatherings, UU All-Comers dinners, our annual cabaret during better times, a meeting location for other nonprofit groups, and working with organizations like Interfaith, Action, Bison, NOAR, and AllPact. The list is endless. We can all name different things that are individually important to us. For me, it's learning new perspectives every Sunday from some of the most interesting, intelligent, and caring people I know. It's occasionally walking Buff's trails for spiritual nourishment. It's knowing I have a minister and friends to call on during challenging times. This is a tree I want to preserve. So over the past year, we've built our tree. Our tree grew quite a lot. We added many branches and leaves, and our roots grew deeper. Despite some external challenges like the pandemic, we produced bigger and sweeter fruit to sustain ourselves and our neighbors. For example, we moved our Sunday services and events online, which was no small feat. We sponsored various COVID-safe outdoor events, like a couple of them that you see here. And we sponsored food and clothing drives, as mentioned by Vicki. We more fully sponsored various community organizations. We delivered RE bags to children and gift bags to members. And yay, we got a youth group up and running. Still, feedback from our 5-year strategic plan that many of you have been involved in tells us that buffers want to make an even bigger impact. We want our fellowship to bear bigger fruit, so to speak. This means we will need to bring in more resources for our tree, more water, more fertilizer, and sunshine. Or in human terms, we need to shower our fellowship with more time, talents, and treasure. Today, we are focusing on that last ingredient, treasure. So many of you know, and this is just a quick review, that most of our income depends on pledges. That big giant blue piece of the pie is all pledge income. And we actually only budget on a portion of the pledge income because we don't always know we'll get 100% of pledge income. And then we get a little bit thrown in here and there from rentals and in-kind donations, the endowment fund, but the vast majority of our income does come from pledges. So, this year, we've set a couple of pledge goals. Our Just Get By pledge goal this year is $45,000, which is about a 4,000% increase from last year. As Vicki mentioned, we're very frugal. Most of the churches I know, besides Buff, not all of them I know besides Buff, have budgets in the 100,000s. So our pledge goal is 45,000, which we think will get us to about 60,000 in income in the coming year. If achieved, it will allow us to add a healthy ring to our trunk. It can help us keep up our great work within and outside the fellowship, and continue paying for our music director position and possibly a long-term technical assistant for our services. And we can continue to add, we can even continue to add to our work in the community. But we also have an aspirational pledge goal, and that is 55,000. So that would get us to probably around about 70,000 total income, we think, from all of our sources. And this would allow us to make some progress on some long-term priorities that I know you've been hearing about for over a year. Some of those are building and grounds updates, and also we want to move into hybrid, combined in-person and online services. It also allows us to explore some long-term possibilities like a green burial program, recycling projects, community education, and also there's been some discussion about constructing a covered pavilion. But we do need more than just the get by income in order to achieve that. So, and Christina, I was happy to see you were excited about this in the comments. You'll soon receive a gift bag from Buff with some fun supplies for spring. In that bag, you'll also find a pledge letter explaining your pledge request and a pledge form. Please take the time to read the letter and submit your pledge. If you can, please consider increasing your pledge from last year, ideally by 5% or more. Quite frankly, more of us will need to give, or all of us will need to give more in order to achieve our pledge goal. And I'll be providing weekly updates over the coming month as to how close we are to achieving our goal. So in summary, thank you, fellow gardeners, for helping us to grow and sustain this community we call Buff.
And thank you, Joanne, for taking the pledge campaign in hand. And also, that I have to say, I love the visuals of your reading. That went with the reading. Very, very nice. So thank you for that, and thank you for your message. Let's go now to the sermon. I'm going to switch metaphors in the sermon, and I have titled my sermon, "Where is the Light?" My job today is to convince you that Buff is worth you giving up some of your hard-earned money and time to support the work that all of us do here. To do that, I have taken the liberty of stealing a title from our first hymn, "Where is the Light?" and making it the title of my sermon. I've also stolen a bit of the song. Where is the light is actually the big theological questions. Theologians, philosophers, priests, shamans, and gurus have been struggling with this question for as long as we have been a species. People have been burned at the stake, imprisoned, fed to lions, and shot and thrown into mass graves because of how they answered this question. Battles have been fought, crusades have been launched, fleets of ships have been sunk, whole peoples have been enslaved. Re-education camps have been built and children have been flung into the fire because of this question. So Martin, please play again for us a few bars of Where is the Light by Peter Mayer.
Where is the light? Can you tell me where is the light? Where is the light? Where is the light? Oh, the light's inside of me. It's in my skin and in my bones, in my heart and in my soul. That light of life so bright and golden, like a summer day. When the sun goes missing in the sky, it is rising in my eyes, chasing all that winter gloom away. Bright like kerosene. Where is the light? I'm twinkling like a Pleiades. Where is the light? I'm dancing like a candle flame. Where is the light? And I'm flaming like a fruit flambe. Where is the light? Oh, can you tell me where is the light? Can you tell me where is the light? Can you tell me where is the light? Oh, the light's inside of me. Can you tell me where is the light? Inside of me, 2, 3, 4. Listen like mine. I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
And thank you, Martin, and thank you, Peter Mayer, for that lovely song, Where is the Light? Well, let's begin with a simple equation. It is our mission at Buff to be a light unto the often dark and divided world. The light that we are called to shine is a collective light made up of our individual lights, and herein lies the challenge. Our lights, your light, and my light have, by the time we become adults, been pretty much out of necessity to make our ways in the world, been covered over by conformity to our society's conventional ways of thinking and perceiving the world. Convention and conformity have, borrowing from an image from the Sermon on the Mount, hidden our lights under a bushel. So the work of this congregation is to provide a safe place where you and I can do the spiritual work of learning to shine our lights in the dark woods of our complex modern society. And while man does not live by bread alone, it does take some bread to keep this institution running and its ministry operating. And by bread, I mean money, time, and creativity. When our daughter Katie was almost 4, we would take her to her older brother's Little League games. She would soon grow restless, so my wife and I started carrying change in our pockets, which we would dole out to Katie, a nickel, a dime, or a quarter at a time. When she received her coins, she would proceed immediately to the concession stand. There, she would, because she was quite small, stand on tiptoe, reach up and click her coins on the countertop. All that was visible to the concession stand attendants was Katie's hand with her coins. Katie had no idea what her coins were worth. She often bargained with the concession stand staff to give her items that were priced above what she could pay. The attendant would often give her what she wanted so that she would just go away. My wife, Patty, and I watched the drama unfold 2 or 3 times a game with much amusement. When the game was over, I would proceed to the concession stand and settle up Katie's outstanding debt. Katie loved money and the whole idea of buying things. That year on her birthday, she received a card from her grandmother with 2 $1 bills inside. She took the bills out and let me demonstrate. This is one of my favorite memories of raising our kids. When she took the bills out, she took them out and she took one in each hand and she just looked at them for a little bit and then she said, "Oh, money, money. I love money. Oh, money, money, money. I love you." Well, at any rate, that was a pretty amusing memory for my wife and I. Needless to say, some of us, like Katie at the age of 4, are attached to our money and are perhaps in a bit of an idolatrous relationship with it. In our consumer society, we often identify by how much money we make. People classify us and we them by net worth and the number of things we can buy. For many of us, how much money we have in the bank determines how much we value ourselves. When I ask you to make a pledge to this congregation, it is a big ask. I'm asking you to give part of what society values you for to do the work of this fellowship. So what are you getting for your money when you support Buff? The short answer, you are getting a safe place to do the spiritual work of uncovering your light. You're also getting a platform to shine your light onto the world through social and ecological justice movements, which we, that's all of us, support with your light, your money, and your time. In shorthand, you are getting a chance to make a difference. Letting your light shine is code for living your true self. It is about being an authentic, mature, and compassionate person who has found in him or herself their reason to be. And I don't care how big your house is, how much money you make, how many years you served in your state senate, or if you are the king of Norway. If you do not have a reason to be, you basically have nothing. Having a reason for being is an incomparable luxury, even if your reason to be leads to great hardship or even death. I'm reminded of one of our founding parents, Michael Zerfas, who was burned at the stake in 1553 for promoting Unitarianism. Of Harriet Tubman, an escaped slave who helped other enslaved peoples escape north to freedom during the American Civil War, and of Unitarian minister Waitzel Sharp and his wife Martha, who during World War II helped hundreds of European Jews flee the Nazis. A more contemporary person whose light has led him on a path of peril is Russian activist Alexei Navalny. Navalny is currently imprisoned by the Russian state and at the writing of this sermon in very poor health from a hunger strike. All the above demonstrate the power that comes from knowing your reason for being, and knowledge that they gained by engaging in the question, where is the light? One last thing before I close this argument for why you and I should support Buff. There's one thing that makes us unique among all other religions. Most other religions want to define for you what your light should look like. The Jewish folks have the Torah, Christians have their creeds, Islam has its 5 pillars, the Hindus have the Upanishads, the Buddhists have their sutras. At Buff, you are free to define your own light. The nature of your light is unique because you are unique. There is no other you. There never has been, there never will be. At Buff, the light of the world is not a savior, a prophet. Holy scriptures are a thousands of years old tradition. Nor does the light of the world come from the visions of long dead saints or ascended masters. The light of the world is you. The light of the world is you and me. And to tell the truth, I love and I hate that part. Even though I tend not to believe in a personal God, nor do I very much like the idea of the supernatural, I am very attracted to some parts of Roman Catholicism. I sometimes think that it would be easier to just report to the nearest Catholic Mass and let a little bit of the burden of defining my own being be lifted from my shoulders. The Catholic Mass, however, is not my truth. It is not my light, nor is it, I suspect, because you are here today, yours. Our truth is, you are the light of the world, and it is up to you to decide how you will shine. It is hard work being a self. In this faith community, you can, with the support and love of other seekers, learn to let your light shine brightly. In conclusion, I would appreciate it if you would continue as you have in the past, because we have been doing a pretty good job, to shine some of your money, time, and creativity on Buff. And P.S. I should add that I have nothing against the King of Norway. So let's continue with our worship service with the hymn Magic Penny.
This is Magic Penny, written by Malvina Reynolds. I hope you'll sing along. So
Perfect. Thank you, Gretchen, for that. Our very talented Gretchen Oman singing Magic Penny for us. And now, Hilary, would you extinguish the chalice for us?
Sure. Do I need to say anything?
You do not.
Oh,
You
okay.
can just extinguish the light. And thank you. And thank Frankie for coming too. It's good to see him.
Indeed.
And now our musical benediction with Candace Onweller. Go in peace, friends. And I'm hoping that you will stick around for the circle talk where we discuss, well, pretty much whatever we want to. But first, there are some breakout rooms that Joan is going to break us out into. I'm going to be staying here in the main room, though, if you want to stay and chat.